Experienced people don't need your leadership. If that's how you feel on a daily basis in your environment, maybe you're surrounded by a lot of experienced people, I'm going to tell you another way of looking at it because they do need your leadership. Hi, I'm Mike Targus. I'm a leadership coach and retired Marine. Experienced people need leadership, but it needs to be a different type of leadership than you might be used to with people who are just starting out their careers or maybe are midway through their career. A lot of managers have difficulties with this, particularly older, more experienced employees. And there's a variety of reasons. Someone who's been in a role for 30 years, maybe more, maybe a little bit less, is not going to drop what they're doing and do things the way that you say just because you're the new manager. And you don't really want them to do that either. A lot of managers struggle with this because they expect that people are going to do things their way just because they show up. And they may even lack the interpersonal skills to get through that situation. But what you're going to find over time is that some of these more senior, experienced employees, they're your best secret weapon. So what do? How do you get there? The first thing is you have to realize that leading experienced, oftentimes older employees takes a lot more time to develop your relationship. And the main aspect of that, if you look at it through their eyes, is they want you, manager, to appreciate their experience and everything they've been through. And when you've got 30 years of experience, you're going to want that same respect. So don't rush it. Expect your ideas to be challenged or questioned. It should be done so tactfully, but you should expect that kind of back and forth from your people. You can get off to a good start in your first conversations with the group or one-on-ones by making it known that you want to hear about what works and what doesn't. And it's okay to have different opinions on that. They're going to expect that too. But when you ask for that kind of input, what you're showing people is you're willing to place their ideas or the group's ideas ahead of your own. And that's another thing people want to see from a new manager. Are you coming in there to change everything? Or are you willing to use some of the things that have worked over the years? So when you're having that first one-on-one session, and by the way, you need to have those even if somebody's very experienced, you want to ask them about their experience over the years. What has worked? What has not worked? And why? And as far as that exchange, there's differing opinions on this, which is asking employees what they think you should do better. And you wouldn't do this when you get into the job for sure. But even after you've been established in the job, I'm not a fan of asking people what you should do better as the manager. But the way you get that same amount of information or that same quality of information is by asking it this way. How can I help you be more successful? What do you need from me to do your job? Those are better than what are some things that I need to do better? Because who's going to answer that honestly anyway? There will be some people, and you're probably not going to like the answer. So you get the same result in the different types of ways to ask that question, just a little less personal. One thing to keep in mind is when you ask these kinds of questions, you may not get the total answer on the spot, particularly if you're new. And one of the reasons is people aren't asked that a whole lot. In a great company, they are. But a lot of times people at least feel like their input is never solicited. They may not be expecting that question. So if you're not getting much feedback, just leave them with, yeah, just think about it. And if you think of something, just grab me. They'll appreciate your offer to do that. Another reason why this is a good approach is you're taking charge of the situation and the conversation. Contrast this with just asking, what should we do different, to the group? Because you're going to get a different response from the group as well. When you get people one-on-one, it's a little easier to control that dialogue. And the other one is you're inviting that person personally to be the main contributor. And everybody wants that. Next, you have to be prepared and flexible on how things are done. And you should be flexible with all your team members, but it's particularly important with your more experienced ones. You, as the responsible person, you're fully in control of what needs to be accomplished, what the end result is, but be a little bit more selective on the details that you insist on how to get there. Be more concerned with what needs to be accomplished, not necessarily how. And when I say be selective, you're never going to compromise on safety or integrity, those kind of things. But one of the benefits of having experienced people is they can bring all this know-how in to get things done faster with better quality. So let them do that. You want to bring in new technology and new ways of doing things. But for you got to expect there to be pushback. Change is scary, especially when somebody's been in a role that long. Show people the value of what you're proposing rather than just push it right out. Incorporating people's ideas is one way to build that bond with the team, but what if somebody's just blatantly disrespectful? Which is something, of course, that happens, and it's something that we build up in our minds that's going to happen. But you're going to get more comfortable over time with your positional authority, your title as the manager, and the authority that brings. But until you get there, here's a few tips. The number one piece of advice that I can give anybody if confronted with a disrespectful teammate is to not overreact or appear flustered. But you definitely need to follow up on it, ideally the same day. For example, if somebody makes a comment like, yeah, like that's going to work. You learned that in college? in front of the group, don't snap back, don't chuckle, don't laugh it off. You can do a couple of things. You can say, no, I did not learn that in college. What do you mean? Or if you can get yourself to do this, you can pause, address the person by name, and ask them to see you after the meeting. It might sound something like this. Mike, let's talk after the meeting. That's all you need to say, especially if the group is present. Another option on that is just proceed with talking to the group about whatever you had. And then before the group breaks up, you just say, hey, Mike, can I talk to you for a second? You're going to do two things. You're going to get an opportunity to talk one-on-one with the person. And then the whole group knows that if they do that, then you're going to call them out as well. And in most cases, you're not even going to really need to address what happened. More importantly, you're just letting everybody know that that's how you're going to handle it and that you're willing to handle it. And there's a few other ways to handle those negative situations. But the relationships that you're going to establish with your experienced people are some of the most rewarding that you're going to have in the team. I can remember when I retired from the Marines and started working, those senior, older employees getting near retirement were great to work with, and I was really good friends with them while we were working. It did take a little bit of time, but I attribute my success with that to listening, taking charge when you need to, but really letting people drive the details of how things are done based on their experience. And I have had that intimidation factor that I know a lot of people watching this video probably are going to feel, especially when you're new. Maybe you're just a couple years out of college and you're managing a team and you got 30-year veteran field workers or something like that. My version of that was senior sergeants when I was a brand new second lieutenant in the Marine Corps. And I didn't have hardly any skills. I had a lot of leadership training, but I didn't have any practical skills. But after you learn how to interact, keep people informed, and learn how to delegate properly, these experienced people are your best, like I said before, secret weapons. And they're going to make your job a lot easier. This gets easier the more senior you get, the more experience as a manager and leader that you have. At some point it won't even be an issue. So that's the good news. Just remember, it really takes time to gain people's trust. They want you to ask about their experience. They want you to incorporate their ideas. They want respect for what they've been through. You're going to be no different when you have 30 years of experience. Hope this helps. If somebody on your team or you need to talk to somebody about how to handle these situations, happy to help.